All right. So it says that we are live. Let me make sure that we are live. And we are. So hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm very excited. Today is Transformation Tuesday. My name is Regina Green, and I'm your transition strategist. And I just love helping career women or high achieving women to be able to discover their true identity and transition from a place of where they are to where they truly want to be. And that can be in different aspects of their life. And my truest desire is to help people to go from a lifestyle and a career that they dread and strive in to one that they love and thrive in. And so I want you to listen in and tune in because I have an amazing individual who will be sharing her story, who's actually in the middle of a transition. So we're going to be talking about how to know when to move. How do you know when to move? Because I know I get a lot of questions. Like, we have all these thoughts around, making the move. Should we move? Should we not? All the fears that comes up. And so I'll have Miss Ebony Potts to introduce herself, and then we'll get started. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Ebony Potts, and I'm an educator. I've been in education for almost 20 years, different transitions, different types of education. I've been a teacher, I've been an assistant principal, I've been a principal, I've been a coach, so I've been in different arenas in education, but at my heart, even when I felt like I tried to escape education, I'm an educator.
Oh, I
Thank
love
you for
it.
having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So you've tried to escape it and it just keeps coming, right?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely.
I think that's a good point for people to know that, the thing that you keep trying to escape, but it keeps coming to you, that is a part of the call, right?
Definitely, definitely.
And we should embrace it and not run from it, right?
Yeah. I'm learning. Life is definitely a journey, and you're always learning. So
Yes.
that's definitely a part of the process.
I love it. I love it. Speaking of process, and we're talking about transition, let us know, like, you're in the middle of a transition and you've made transitions. Like, what type of fears comes up, like, for you, and how do you deal with them?
Um, at this point in my journey, I'm not really scared of a whole lot of things as far as transition, but that has taken some work. I didn't,
Yes.
come out fearless, just, oh man, everything's going to be great.
Yeah.
You definitely have to go through some things in order to get there. But once you fall and scrape your knee and realize, oh, my knee didn't fall off, and then, you're not so afraid to get up and try to run again,
Yeah.
because you're not afraid of the unknown the way that you were previous to taking steps in directions that you didn't necessarily know what was going to happen.
Mm,
So, that has helped me immensely. I've gotten comfortable with being uncomfortable because,
I love it.
in my opinion, the Lord put me in a season where I was uncomfortable with a lot for
Mm,
quite some time,
yes.
and, I felt like he was just teaching me to just release. I'm going to show you if you stop trying to figure everything out. Just relax,
Wait, say that
just
again. One more time.
relax. Yeah,
Repeat.
he said, I'm gonna show you if you just take your hands off the steering wheel for a second. Don't mean be a fool, plan
Yes.
and do what you can, but just know that you are really not in control. You think you are,
You
but
think
you
that.
are not. You're really not in control. And as soon as you just calm down, I'm gonna show you something, and
Right.
it's been a long journey for me trying to get there, going to places and doing things that I thought was the next step for me. I thought it was the next logical step. I thought it was what I wanted, and getting in the middle of it and being like,
Yeah.
this may not be it,
Yes.
So, life has taught me to
Yeah.
be okay with transitions, and because it's gonna happen. You can't,
Yes.
you're not gonna get anywhere, and as soon as, really literally, as soon as you get comfortable, something's coming to shake up your world, and you just have to be okay with it and just
Right.
be all right, and know it
I
will
love
be
that.
okay.
I love that. Basically, we need to trust God is what I heard in that, be okay with being uncomfortable. I heard that. And know that you're not in control. Even though we think that we are, we're not in control. We just have to take responsibility for what he gave, for the part he gave us in.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is taking the step. And sometimes we miss it, is what I heard you say.
Oh,
We
yeah.
mess up, right? It's okay to
Definitely.
make mistakes. Don't beat yourself up and stay there. Just keep moving, right?
Right.
And
Right.
sometimes that moving could be you sitting still, getting clear on, okay, where do I go? Like, that is movement when you're getting clear on the direction God wants to give to you. You know what I'm saying? Be okay with that. That's what I heard you say in all of that. I love it. I love it.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me, how did you know? How did you know, like, you're in transition right now? How did you know to move? Like, what was that thing to say, I'm doing it, I'm going? Like, you can choose any one of your transitions that you've made. Just let us know, like, how did you know?
Well, I'm originally from New Jersey, and my first transition as far as moving to the South was I moved to Georgia. And I moved to Georgia because, for one reason that a lot of people are moving south from up north, is the cost of living is completely ridiculous up there. So
Yeah.
we were looking to make some transitions, make things a little bit more comfortable for our family. And I had a friend that lived in Georgia, and she was telling me for years, oh, come down to Georgia, come down to Georgia. I'm like, I ain't moving to Georgia, you know? And yet, you know, I was there for like 10 years, and now I'm getting ready to go back because I'm currently in Florida. So,
Wow.
you know, the transition, I never really was scared like a lot of people are to move, because I mean, I knew a couple of people in Georgia, but I mean, I really wasn't scared to move to Georgia. I always, even as a child, kind of saw myself living somewhere else. I didn't know why I felt that way, but I just did. I felt like I would live somewhere else. And I still, at this point, feel like at some point I'm going to live outside of the country. When it's going to happen, I don't know.
I loved it.
Yeah, I've always kind of felt that, you know, and I feel like that's kind of God, just as I call it, dropping breadcrumbs for you, just letting you know kind of where things may go, and maybe just kind of giving you a little bit of a gut check and getting you ready for wherever, you know, that may lead. But, you know, I transitioned to Georgia as an educator. I was a teacher at that time, and I became a teacher in Georgia. And I was there at the school that I had transitioned into for about 5 years, and very comfortable there. I loved going to work. I had fun. I met some people that I'm still friends with to this day. And then all of a sudden it became very uncomfortable. We had a administrative change, and some other things were changing. That was when, you know, data became much more important, more prevalent, No Child Left Behind. All of those things happened all around that time. And I wasn't really ready for the change. I'll put it that way. I wasn't ready for the change, and it was very uncomfortable for me. I was young. I had just moved not too long, you know, prior to that, and the changes came, and they didn't ask me to come. You know, they didn't ask my permission, and I wasn't ready to let them in the door, but they were coming anyway.
Right.
So, you know, that period was, and then there were some other things going on with me in my personal life as well. It was just very, very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
And I transitioned from there into administration, kind of a baby step into administration. And that was my first step into Florida. So, you know, I've been through, you know, quite a few changes, career-wise and things of that nature. And a lot of it, as far as when I know it's time to move, some of it was me being impulsive and jumping the gun.
I love your vulnerability there.
Right, you know, that was, and I've done it since then. So that, you know, not saying I completely learned my lesson then, but some of it was just, you know, guys like, okay, you asked for it, I'm gonna give it to you. You know, you asked for this, and I'm gonna give it to you, and then we'll reevaluate in 6 months or a year or 2 years from now and see if that's what you really wanted. You know, so that's been my journey, you know, through education and through, you know, my personal life as well, through different changes, and some of it I felt like the Lord was leading me, and after I look back, I say, okay, that what the Lord had his hands in that. Some of that was me. And I've had to live with me.
Some of the consequences of it, right?
After I made some of those decisions. So, you know, I think it's individual. A lot of times, if you would just sit still, I'm science-minded. I'm very concrete, sequential. I like things to be in order, and life doesn't work that way. So when things are not in order in my mind, I'm always trying to put them in order. I'm always trying to plan. I'm always trying to make decisions, and I'm always trying to make things fit a timeline. And God doesn't work
Yeah.
on our timeline.
No, right. Right.
So some of those decisions that I made were because of me trying to make things fit where maybe they didn't necessarily fit.
Right.
And some of it was the Lord, trying to show me myself through transitions, through difficult situations so that I could learn, and
Oh, I
that's what it's
love
really,
that.
really all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said it showed you yourself, because a lot of the challenges we face is because it really is come to help you become more like God. I always say everything that comes, we're designed to be more like God, period. Right. And so either you choose to surrender to it or you choose not to. You can continue to go on the path of whatever you want to go on. Like God gives free will, right? So do whatever you want to do, but there is a will over here that God has for you. So you can choose to surrender or not. So I love that. And I love that you shared that, you kind of change, these were steps to help you change from the inside. Now, I have a question. The voices of other people, how has that affected you in any way in these transitions, or has it affected you in any way?
Um, I'm very private when I make transitions.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, handles those things differently.
Yes.
One thing, example that I quite often talk about with my husband, and I talk to my kids about it as well. When you're in middle school and high school and everybody's doing something, everybody's wearing a type of shoe, everybody's wearing a type of shirt, it becomes
Mm-hmm.
in style.
Yes.
And my mom very rarely let me, if I said to her, and I didn't realize it then, but if I said to her, but everybody has this, or I like this, and she would ask me why, and I would give her any inkling that everyone else had it, she purposely would not let me get it. And it used to drive me insane. But as an adult, I realized that she was teaching me in her way
Yeah.
that you don't need to follow everybody. You don't need to worry about what everyone else is doing. And it made me okay being different from everyone. It
Oh, I
made
love
me
that.
okay not doing what everyone else was doing. It made me very comfortable with that in her own way. That's what she was teaching me. So
Mm.
I've carried that through transitions. I've carried making my own decisions and not necessarily letting everyone's opinions, cloud my judgment, because at
Right.
the end of the day, the decision that I make is between me and God, whether
Amen.
I'm following what he's saying or whether I'm following what is going to make me be able to look at myself in the mirror.
Mm.
So I've not really had a lot of issues with transitions and what other people thought. By the time I let other people know what I'm doing, I'm already like,
In it.
I'm already in it. It's too late. Like, I told my dad that I was selling my house in New Jersey when the for sale sign was in the lawn,
Mm.
So, because I knew that that's what I looked at it, I analyzed it, again, I'm science brain. I already looked at the pluses and the cons and the pros. And,
Yeah.
now again, it doesn't mean I always make the perfect decision,
Right.
but for me at that time where I was in my growth, as an individual, that was the right decision at that time for me and who I
Yeah.
was at that time.
Yes.
So I'm not really easily swayed by other people and their opinions, because again, once they walk away and give me whatever it is they're saying, they go off and live their life. They're not on it,
Right.
So
I love it. I love it. Train up a child in the way that they should go, right? And they won't depart from it. So that's what I hear, even in that. So I love it that you don't even allow people's opinion to matter, because you don't share a whole lot. And sometimes, you have people like for me, when I left my job, I didn't share with anybody except my husband and my kids for some months that I did not leave, because I didn't want to hear what everybody had to say. But there were also times when I did share it, and I got all these negative thoughts and
right.
comments from people. And it's like, you start questioning, am I making the right decision? And then you lower the voice of God, because now you have all these opinions of people, what they think, you hear their fears, and all of that. And they're not following a faith-based life. So they think they are, but most of them are not, right? It's a fear-based life. And so you get caught up in all of that. And I just want to encourage somebody today who may be in transition, listening to the voice of other people to fear God over man and listen to the voice of God over anything. And so if you have somebody watching right now, what would you say to them if they're in the middle of a transition, whether it's in their career, whether it's a move, health wise, career to career? What would you say to this individual? How would you encourage them to move forward and just know when to move? How would you encourage that person right now?
One of the first things I would say to them is that God, in my opinion, gives you previews as to what your life can be and or will be if you just get out of the way. So when he shows the previews to you about what your life is, it's not a group setting. Like, it's not a movie theater. Like, he didn't sit your mama down, your daddy down, your cousin down, your auntie, your uncle, however wise those people may be. He didn't sit all of them down to preview what your coming attractions are for your life. It just doesn't work that way. He gave you a vision. He's giving you the vision. So when you go talk to your mom, as wonderful, as caring and loving and whatever it is, whatever kind of adjectives you would describe your mom with, it does not mean that she's going to understand your vision. That's because he didn't give it to her. He gave it to you.
Right.
So the biggest thing that I was saying, I talk about this in my book as well, because I give plenty of examples of some of the things that we just talked about, some of my transitions and some of the perils of going through transitions and not quite understanding and understanding what's going on around you and understanding yourself and how you are walking through these different shifts.
Yes.
But, the biggest thing I would say is believe in yourself, believe in your vision. And when you're not sure, be still and ask God. That is who you need to ask. Have prayer. Ask the Lord to put the right people in order in front of you when you don't have the answers. Read your scriptures and all of that. But the Lord uses us to be a blessing to one another. And when you hear a voice, before you make a decision based on something that you heard from person A or person B, ask the Lord, is this the direction you want me to go in? And sit down until he answers, because that was for me, okay? Because that was for me. Sit down and wait until he answers and just be still and do the best where you are until he showed you something else. That doesn't mean that you let your dream die. It doesn't mean you just stop researching and getting information and all of that. But while you are waiting, just know that it's possible for you. It's your vision. It's not a shared vision. And as much as you get research and information from others, does not mean that they're going to completely understand where you are going.
Yes. Thank you. That is so good. You mentioned your book. So I'll ask you here in a minute where we can all find you and, all about your book. Did you procrastinate when God said, write that book? Did you procrastinate? Because procrastination is such a big thing for people and moving into their call and transitioning. And if God speaks, if it doesn't fit with your timing, did you procrastinate and how did you overcome it?
Well, since you said I'm being transparent, yes, I did. And I am not a procrastinator. That is like the complete opposite of my personality. I am not a procrastinator. Like, if there's something that I know but again, it's what I know and I feel like needs to be done, I'm on it because I don't want to keep thinking about it. I don't want to keep planning it in my brain. The sooner I can get it done, the sooner I can stop thinking about it and move on to the next thing. So I am absolutely not a procrastinator. However, the Lord told me to do something that did not fit with my mindset and where I saw myself at the time in which he told me to do it. So I made excuses. I'm not a writer. I'm not an author. I never wanted to be an author. I never was sitting in my room. I always journaled. But and again, this is me realizing that I was what I was saying I wasn't. I always journaled. I wrote poetry as a child. These are things. And again, but I wasn't an author, right. In my mind, like, no, I don't write. I wrote a dissertation, but I'm not an author. So again, getting out of your own way, that's an example of that. But again, I'm not an author, I'm an educator, but writing a book is a way of educating. Again, getting out of my own way, just not seeing things clearly, because it didn't fit where my mind was at that time. And the Lord just kept telling me, write a book. And I went through
Yeah.
all kinds of different transitions and issues and everything else. And while I was trying to point God in this direction, he was like, hey, remember I told you to write this book 20 years ago? Write a book like now.
Wow.
Right. And I'm like, okay, that don't have anything to do with what's going on over here that I'm trying to get you to look at. But okay, I'll start writing, you know?
Wow, I love
And I
it.
started writing and it flowed in a way that was surprising even to me. Like it
I
just,
love that.
it just flowed because I was doing what he told me to do.
Oh, I love it. So that was some juice right there for anybody who's listening who call themselves a procrastinator. Let me just go ahead and correct it. None of us as a believer are procrastinators. That is not who you are. That is not even in your nature. It may be something that you have picked up and have carried with you, but it don't belong to you because as a believer, you are an overcomer, right? And so you overcome things, you keep moving, and God has already created the path for you to move forward, and that's what you truly are in your DNA. And so go ahead on and pass down and get rid of that procrastination by taking steps and being obedient, and writing out a schedule of how you can move forward. That is how you can move beyond procrastination. And everything that she said, right? Everything that she said, that was so powerful. I love it. Let us know where we can find you. I just want to share one other thing. My mentor said to me, when you get ready to step into the thing that God called you to, if procrastination is not in your nature, do you really believe, don't you think you should open your eyes to see what that means? It's trying to stop you from helping somebody else, creating a breakthrough in somebody else's life, and fully stepping into the call that you're supposed to be stepping into. I wanted to say that too. Now, where can we find you at? And just give us all your details and how we can find you if people want to follow you.
Well, again, my name is Dr. Ebony Potts, and the website that you can pick my book up at is www.nextexityourdestiny, all one word.com. You can also find my book on Amazon. You can find it on Barnes and Noble, anywhere pretty much online that you can find books. It's even on eBay. So my book is called Next Exit Your Destiny. And it's about a lot of the things that we just talked about today, transitions. How do you know when you need to make a transition? And then about self-discovery, because a lot of times when you feel uncomfortable, you feel like you need to make a move. Most of us don't know what move to make next. You just know that something is wrong. And, what do you do at that point? So my book really literally just kind of walks you through the steps of what to do. But it's not a dry, scientific, read, but it walks you through those steps. And as it's walking you through those steps, I give, examples from my life as to things that happened to me. And also some of the perils that you will reach, like you talked about, fear, other people. How do you know what to do? What should you do? It kind of walks you through all of that in the book. So you can pick it up at any of those places that I just told you about.
It's so funny that when I did this interview, that's what all came up. Because I don't really have a script for any of these. It just I like to let it flow. And it always flows exactly in the direction that the person is in. And so I love it. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
No
Wishing you all the best on your transition. And may God bless you and your family as you move to your next level. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you all for watching. If you want to find this recording, you can go to my YouTube channel at Making Faith Moves with Regina Green. You can also find me at reginatgreen.com. If you're looking to make a transition, you can find out on my website. So I appreciate it. And you guys have an amazing day. Bye.